Annyeong Haseyo. It is a pleasure to be here to manage Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors here in the Korean League, and I would like to express my gratitude to the board before we sign this contract here today. My phone's ringing. Hamnida. Give me a second. Hello? Why are you calling me? I'm in the middle of something here. I'm about to sign the contract. The Chinese job came up. Is that the one where we've got 220 million euros to spend? Right. So should I not sign this contract? Okay. Can you order me a taxi and I will just in a flight and I'll do my best to get out of this. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. See you soon. Cheers. Thank you. Bye. Taxi! Hello everyone and welcome back to the Hexagon Challenge here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well. Today we go to a new region after we finished our time in Africa and South Africa at SuperSport United. If you missed the last few episodes, I'll leave a link to yesterday's in the top right corner, and also I will probably leave a link to the one 2 episodes ago where we did win the CAF Champions League, and that is why we have moved on. And as you will know from the intro, we are not in South Korea. We nearly went there. In the end, we have gone to China. I'll be putting up the job interviews that we did have. They both came up about the same time in December. So it took us a good 6 months before a decent job came up that we were looking at. And by that time, there were 2 that came at the same stage. We were always leaning towards the Chinese one, but the guy didn't get sacked for quite a while. I thought it might have disappeared, but it came up just as the Jeonbuk Hyundai motor job in Korea was available. So we had those 2 job interviews. We first got offered a job by Jeonbuk Hyundai in Korea, but once Beijing Guoan did offer us a job interview, we were always leaning that way. We'll explain a few reasons why shortly, but on screen now you can see that we have accepted a 2-year contract there. It's actually 29k euros a week, and we'll have a quick look at the job center just to show you guys the 2 jobs we were looking at. First up, the Korean job. These guys are automatically in the group stage of the Champions League in Asia. They've won it twice, but they only have a 13 million euro budget. Their overall financial state isn't great, albeit this is a team who are expected to be winning their league. So it was a pretty good job, but you compare that to what we are going to be going to in Beijing Guoan, and these guys are a pretty nice club to be going to. If we look at the season preview, they are expected to finish second, but they've got a fair few players in this Dream 11. They're not too far rated behind Guangzhou, who happen to have one of our former players in Marco Stamenik from Monaco, the New Zealander. So we might be taking him on unless we can get him off them, but we're expected to finish second. And if we look at the overall state of the club, they are a very rich club. They've got a 223 million euro transfer budget. So even though we have to go through a playoff to make the Champions League, it feels like it's worth the effort with that extra transfer budget. It is significantly larger, and that is why we have gone for this job in China. Before we do accept this job, though, I will actually show you guys the past few winners of the Champions League here, because they are all from countries that aren't China, which I personally found a bit surprising. I thought with the money in China, they would be dominating this Champions League here, but you can see there's Al Duhail, who are from Qatar, who have the highest reputation league in Asia, but it's not loaded into the game as playable. They've been doing quite well, and around that, a few Korean teams. Yokohama have won the past few, a Japanese outfit. You can see Shandong down there, they're the bottom, they're the last Chinese team who did win it. You got Al Sadd, who are also from Qatar. So Qatar are really dominating this Asian Champions League and game in terms of the winners since we've started this save, and China have only won it once in the 11 years since the save started. And that was one of the reasons that when that Korean job did come up, I did look at it a bit more than I was thinking I would before we got into the job market at the end of the last episode. But this one came up. In the end, the transfer budget was just too good to turn down. So we will accept this job offer. We'll move forward and introduce you guys to the club. We won't have a game in today's episode because the one that is coming up is towards the end of February. From what I remember, we'll come and show you guys how our tactic stands up in this team soon, but we'll just run you guys through the team and we'll let you guys know what we're going to be doing with all that money and how we need to change this team, because there are a few changes that we're going to have to make. But there's the item about us joining Beijing Guoan. You can see they're listing our past achievements, the AFC Champions League and the UEFA Champions League. We should be a good get for these guys, and we can run through the club history. They are at the Workers' Stadium, a big stadium, 71,000. They have excellent training, state-of-the-art youth, and exceptional youth recruitment facilities. They are founded in 1992, so a club that's actually younger than me. They are a team who have been there or thereabouts for most of the recent years. You can see that once we get down the bottom, runners-up in the AFC Champions League in 2028, so they haven't actually won the competition yet, so we're looking to get these guys their first Champions League in Asia. They've won the Chinese top division in 2026 and 2027 since the save started, as well as 2009, so 3-time Super League champions here in China, and have also finished runners-up 8 times, so they're a perennial team who's there or thereabouts. 6 Chinese FA Super Cup wins and 6 Super Cups as well. So they are a team who do tend to be up there in China, and with that transfer budget, hopefully we will be able to keep it that way. There's the starting 11. We'll run through that soon because no doubt that's going to change. But here is the club vision. They want us to sign high reputation players. We might need to look offshore for that, but we'll see. We've definitely got the money to sign some high reputation players. Play a possession-based football game, making the most of set pieces. Only favoured that, so we're probably just going to use what we use at our 4-3-3 because it's worked so well for us. Can't have non-Chinese goalkeepers. That's a league rule, so we can't break that. The 5-year plan, work within the wage budget, spend the original transfer budget. That's going to be potentially difficult trying to spend 220 odd million euros, but we'll see what we can do. Minimum 2-year contracts for first team players and sign young players to develop for profit. They want us to reach the semi-final of the AFC Champions League this year. In terms of Jeonbuk Hyundai, one of the reasons I also was quite keen on this job over theirs is that they only expected us to get out of the group stage. So these guys, even though we've got to enter a stage before Jeonbuk would have, do have higher expectations. So that potentially suggests that we have a better squad on our hands here. We need to win the Chinese Super League. I did promise that in the interview. I don't know if I actually needed to, but I think we can win the Super League. So we've added that to the mix. And we've also got the Chinese FA Super Cup where they expect us to reach the final, although that is a less important competition and they want us to keep on winning the Super League. So we're happy with all of that. It's a job where we're going to be expected to be up amongst the trophies throughout our time here. And hopefully, yet again, we can do a one or done, although with the money that's being offered to us here, if we can't, we will definitely be able to strengthen quite significantly in the off seasons. And we are here. So what we're going to do today, I will come back shortly, load up the tactic, get players in the right positions, run you guys through the squad, and also go through the squad depth as well, because that will show us where we need to improve in this transfer window that has just started here, and how we can spend all that good money to try and make us the best team in Asia. And here is the team that we've got into our 4-3-3 tactic that we've been using all the way since Caversham here at Beijing Guoan. And you can see in the first team, we've got some pretty nice talent, albeit some players that we can't actually register for the AFC Champions League. So that's an early issue that we're going to have to go through. But in the league, this is the team that we can put out. So we'll run through them and then go through the bench. But it's actually not a very big bench and not a very good bench either. So we might need to strengthen there. So that money is going to actually be quite well used. But we'll start off in goal. Li Zhangji is our goalkeeper, 22 years old. He's a big lad, 1.95 meters with some decent aerial reach. He's got a bit of potential. Looks a good first choice for us here. We might see if we can improve on that, 2.5 stars, but with his potential, he should be there or thereabouts in the first team starting wise. In terms of our right back, at the moment it's He Guojing. He is more of a CDM, but can also play right back, and we're really, really light on wing backs in this team. That is an area we definitely need to improve. That's one of the main ones we're going to have to try and sort out in the transfer window. But you can see this guy's a pretty nice player, 22 years old, got a lot of Chinese caps and a goal, and he can play wing back. And as we don't have many of those, he should do a pretty good job for us there as well. So at the moment, he's going to be our right back. We might be able to shift him into the midfield if we find enough options there. But he is a good looking player, this guy, who can definitely be one of our more important ones in the squad. But he's looking like a right back at the moment, but we'll see what happens after the transfer window. Our centre backs, both French centre backs at the moment, both unregistered because we've got too many foreigners in this team for the Champions League. So different rules for the Champions League and the domestic league here in China. We'll run through those off the back of this. But the first one is Boubacar Kamara, a 32-year-old Frenchman. You can see looks pretty good. He can play CDM, but we'll have him as a ball-playing defender more, and his stats for that are quite nice. Pretty solid player all round and should be pretty good for this Chinese league. And his countryman on the other side is Umar Saleh, and he is also a good ball-playing defender option. So those two fit our tactic very nicely. This guy looks a bit better aerially than Boubacar, but they're both pretty good options for us and two of our import slots. We've got someone in here at left back, but he's not a left back. This is a young guy who can play centre back. We have no left backs at the club. So that is a definite need to improve. So that's the most obvious thing we're going to have to sort out in this transfer window. So we'll show you guys this guy quickly as he's going to go back to the reserves probably. You can see he's got a bit of potential, but he ain't a left back, only can play centre back. So that's an area we definitely need to sort out. This is Huang Jingqi. And yeah, he's going to be more of a promising player for this club, but not first team quality. We need to sort that out. Then we get to the midfield. We've got some really good options all the way up from this point on. In terms of our CDM, this guy, Matthias Svanberg, a Swedish 33-year-old who could actually qualify as being Chinese. If we show you guys the information, he's done his days to be completed, but doesn't want to switch nationalities. We'll explain why that's an issue once we get to that registration for the AFC Champions League shortly, but it's a little bit frustrating, and I don't think there's an option to discuss adding a nationality, which is a little bit frustrating because it would be quite useful given that it would help us in the Champions League. But he's going to be playing CDM for us because he looks the best of what we've got. If we have to put He Zhao Qing at right back, then this guy is going to be our best defensive midfielder. We're probably going to use him as a deep lying playmaker, so we'll have to kind of go back to a former tactic that we had when we were at Monaco for that. But his marking's not great, so we can't really have him as a defensive midfielder. But if we do him on the deep lying playmaker, a good player who should do a job for us there is one of the better ones rating-wise in the team. Then we get to our star local lad, Wei Ji. He is a 24-year-old midfielder, and he will be the advanced playmaker for us. You look at his stats, very solid for that, and he has good ability and potential. A really nice local player for us. The jewel in our crown, I would say. I expect us to get a few bids for this guy, considering how important having good Chinese players is in the Chinese Super League. Then we go to an Italian, Gaetano Olistano. He is going to be our box-to-box midfielder. You can see he likes to play a bit further forward than what we've got him. We'll put him on box-to-box. He's got the best suited stats for those in terms of being the most well-rounded. Not his most natural position, but should do a good job for us. This guy's another one of those guys who could become second nationality of Chinese, but doesn't want to. So a little bit frustrating, but he's one of our best players, so we're going to have to deal with it. He is definitely a first-team choice and has to be registered for the Champions League. Then we get on to Carlos Alcaraz. This is a guy who wants to leave the club, and he is a foreign player, so we might let him go. We'll see what we can bring in. He is currently going to be our right winger, and look at his stats. Again, a very solid player, the 29-year-old Argentinian, and hopefully he can do a job for us should he remain at the club. On the left wing, we go to Edwin Andersson, another Swedish winger. This is a guy who hasn't got his second nationality option available yet, but does look very good in that inverted winger role that we use. He's got some really nice physicals and some good solid stats elsewhere, including a really nice dribbling of 16. Should be very dangerous down that left wing for us, and can also go up front on the right wing. Quite versatile, which you like to see. And then up front, another good Chinese player, a striker, in Wang Jun. He has some really nice stats for the advanced forward that we use. So on the whole, this is a team, first 11 wise, if we don't have to consider registration, it does look quite good. But then we delve into the reserves, and there's not that many, and the star ratings aren't that good. Our backup goalkeeper, Li Liang, look, he's going to be decent enough to be kept at the club. He's currently on a first choice goalkeeper contract. We might have to change that. He's a solid enough backup. We'll leave him at the club because there's no point bringing in someone when we don't really have to. We are allowed 3 goalkeepers in the Champions League squad, so we might look at sorting that out. Wang Chen as a backup centre back and midfielder. He's probably going to be better suited to playing in between those. He's only 16 years old and has a bit of potential. So ideally, this is a guy who'll go back into our under 19s or our under 23s, but we'll see what happens in the transfer window. Promising enough player, but probably not first team quality at the moment. We've got Shen Hongjing. He is a backup right winger and striker. He actually looks like he could be a decent squad option for us in a backup role. So we'll look to keep this guy valued quite highly at 9.25 million euros as well. So we would put him on inverted winger. He's okay enough to be doing a job there for us should we get injuries, I think. So he's a player we'll definitely keep in the first team mix. And we'll also keep Hu Zhao Wei. He is a striker who looks, again, decent enough in the stats that we need him to be. Not perfect, but should be good enough. Should stay in the first team. Maybe get relegated to third choice striker should we have enough money to bring someone in. And we should have enough money here. So he is a player who we'll look to keep. But the rest of these guys, honestly, not really quality enough. Hao Lun Hao is a midfielder for us, young midfielder. Really good potential, but just not quite there yet. And he is 21 years old, so not quite developing as much as you might expect him or hope he would. But he's got the potential, but just not quite there yet. So he might be a player who goes to the reserve should we be able to bring in the amount of players that we need to, because you'll start looking at this and we're going to actually need to do a fair few transfers, more than usual. We've got Zhuang Yan, who is a promising final third player, but again, not really up to first team quality yet, even at 20 years old. We have Tian Kui, a 22-year-old left winger who can also play up front, but before finishing, he's definitely more of a winger. Not much potential, but he's a player we could potentially look at letting go should a good offer come in for him. And then we get to the rest of the players. Jin Hongliang, he is a right winger. Decent enough, but again, not much potential. Good offer. We might look at letting this guy go. And then we get to Jin Zhenjuan. He is a right winger with a little bit of potential, so we'll probably keep him around the club, but at the moment, not quite really good enough to be around the first team. And then Cao Ao, who is a left and right winger, got good potential for an 18-year-old who is Chinese, but again, at the moment, probably not first team quality. So in terms of our squad, really like the first 11 apart from left back. That's an area that we definitely need to improve. Otherwise, though, the bench is a bit thin and we've got too many foreigners for the Champions League. So we will show you guys what I'm talking about in terms of registration. Because if we go here, this is for the Champions League. We're allowed 3 foreign players who aren't Asian and 4 foreign players overall. So we can bring in 1 more Asian player who will get in as an extra. But in terms of what we've already got at the club, we can't afford to bring in any more foreign players. So what we're going to have to do is either sell some of these foreigners, but as you can see, all our foreign players are quite important to what we have in our first 11. So it's going to be a very interesting transfer window, seeing how I get by all this stuff. And we might also bring in perhaps a Korean or Australian, because of course Australia is part of Asia in the footballing world, to fill one of our holes that we need, perhaps that left back role, but we'll still need to cut some of these foreigners from our Champions League squad. So we definitely need to look at buying a fair few Chinese players in this upcoming transfer window, albeit we might actually have the funds so that we can actually buy the entire Chinese national squad, because I don't think they're valued at that much. So that could be a very interesting transfer window. Should be a busy one. And we'll show you guys the Super League registration. We're fine for all of these. We're actually allowed 1 more foreign player, so we're okay for that. It's just the Champions League, which is the big issue. So domestically, that team's fine and we'll have a really strong team, but we're going to have to do some interesting stuff for the Champions League. That is the big concern at the moment. We can't register at the moment Soleil Kamara or Alcaraz, albeit Alcaraz might be leaving. So that will weaken our squad. We'll see where we can improve with domestic players, and then that will probably determine who isn't registered foreign-wise for this Champions League. It really is going to depend on how good a quality the local players are that we can bring into the side to cover some of the gaps that we can't register these foreign guys for. So it's a little bit messed up in terms of how they've assembled their squad before I got here. We definitely need to do some reshuffling, but we do have a good transfer budget, so we will be able to do that. Also show you guys the squad depth just to emphasize the areas where I am looking at improving. So you can see in terms of strikers, we've got 3 strikers. So that's probably a good amount for us. We've only got 1 left winger, 2 right wingers. So we need to build some more squad depth there, and it is going to have to be Chinese-wise. And if Alcaraz leaves, maybe we can bring in someone then from another country. But at the moment, we're going to need to just build depth through using Chinese players because we don't really have another option until we sell some of these foreign players, and they all are quite good players. So I'm a bit afraid to do that. The midfield, we've got some really quality first choice options, as you can see. Decent enough options in the advanced midfield to cover for Oceania and Jay, but in terms of defensive midfielders, when you take out the players at the back who are covering centre back and are going to be starting most of the time, we're a bit thin at CDM, so we're definitely going to need to get more bodies in there. We might be good enough in the midfield of some players who are just good enough if we have enough money to improve that depth a bit more in terms of quality, then we will, but we'll see what we can do. Left back, obvious issue. Right back, we want someone else as well as Hexagon Guoan. And then our centre backs, once you get rid of the players who are less than 2-star ability, we've only got the French guys. So we really need to bring in some Chinese players, and then at the back, maybe another goalkeeper as well. So we've actually got quite a bit of transfer work to do. You're going to be having to get introduced to quite a few new faces in the next episode, I suspect, and it might be a few days as well because I'm going to be having a very busy transfer window. You'll see we're up to the 17th of January. It's not actually too long until that qualifier game for the AFC Champions League, which we will bring you guys. I'll give you a bit of a look at players who I have brought into the club on trial because we have gone forward a little bit just so we can get a better idea of what we need and get a bit more scouting done. We've got a guy, Wang Zhangchuao, on trial, a Chinese left back, but his potential ability has actually gone down since he first got here. He's probably not quite good enough, but he also might be all we can get in terms of a backup left back, so we'll keep him on trial at the moment. And then we make our way further down onto this bench. We've got a backup goalkeeper, Shin Changji. He looks like he could be decent enough. We're keeping him on trial. Could be a player that we sign for no money. Good enough backup option. And then we go down and we've got some very interesting Chinese national team players. One, Joe Willock, familiar name to English fans, no doubt. He can cover all over that front field. He's actually a really good player. We've offered him a contract. I really want to get this guy in. He's good midfield backup and can play CDM, even though his marking is not great either. But at the very least, he's a local midfield option, and that potentially could be useful as he might have enough quality to come in to the Champions League squad, and we might have to let someone like Oceania sit out of the Champions League because of that. So he's a player who we have offered a contract to. Hopefully we can get him on board because we need the quality Chinese players when we can find them. And that's the same case for Mokhtar Diakabe. He is a 35-year-old centre-back, so his physicals in terms of speed aren't great, but 16 jumping reach, 16 heading, 1.9 metres. This guy could be a very good aerial threat for us. And we've seen over the past few years how good we have been from corners at getting our big guys up there from the back. He could be ideal for that sort of thing. And he's a pretty good ball-playing defender too from the stats that we can see. Really good passer. Looks really suited to what we do despite his age. So again, that might be the ideal scenario given the fact that neither of our French centre-backs at the moment are registered for that Champions League because of those foreign rules. But those are two players who we have put bids in for. We've also got Zhuang Cheng here on trial, a New Zealand striker who has Chinese as a second nationality. We'll see how he looks, but probably not going to be good enough to be staying at the club. So we've done a little bit getting players in on trial who didn't have clubs from the national team, but still waiting on scout reports, and it's going to be quite interesting to see how this team changes when we do get to our first game and once we do actually get to the Champions League proper, provided we win that game. We'll show you guys what game we will be coming back for. It is against Lezo Osaka, a Japanese team, and it is away. It's a one-leg playoff, so we've got a tough task here going to Japan for that one, but with Japan's league not being loaded as a playable nation in Football Manager, it is a game I am expecting that we should be winning, especially considering the board expect us to be making the semi-finals of that competition this year, and we've got a bunch of friendlies either side of that to get our boys up to full fitness. But I think that will do for the weekend video for our first episode in Asia. So we've joined Beijing Guoan, and we've got a lot of money that we can use. You can see the wages that we've offered both Willock and Diakabe there, but we are definitely still on the lookout for some more players to bolster the squad. But if you did enjoy that run through of the squad here at Beijing Guoan, remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on today's video, and also hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on if you're new to the series and looking forward to our time here in Asia. We'll get into more gameplay and less blah blah tomorrow, but we'll also potentially have quite a few transfers, so might be still be a little bit of blah blah at the start. But until I see you for the next episode, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.